This is the Hello World podcast, where we talk about habits of success, habits of excellence, entrepreneurship, leadership, learning and development, and outlook that will help us succeed through life. This is Louis Banta, CEO and Chief Trainer of Learning Just Made Better, or LJMB. Good day to everyone. This is Louis Banta of LJMB, and this is episode 4 of Hello World. Music. As you all know, hello stands for 5 topics that we plan to cover in each episode. H stands for hustling, habits of success, and habits of excellence. E stands for entrepreneurship. L is for leadership. The other L is for learning and development. And the last letter, outlook, would represent mindsets, paradigms that are helpful in our daily lives. Episode number 4 is focused on the first L, leadership. And we've invited in this episode someone who will share with you his experiences and insights on how you can reach the pinnacle of leadership. Our guest in this episode was chairman of Film Asset Management and head of Strategic Initiatives Office of the Film Group. Prior to his appointment, our guest held the role of Deputy CEO of BPI Film and head of AIA City Partnership. He has more than 30 years of experience in the financial services industry and has held various senior roles in Film Group, including Chairman and CEO of the Film Call Center, Director and President of Film Financial Advisory Services Incorporated, and Film Group Training Director. Previously, he was President of Sun Life Financial Plans, Senior Vice President for Organizational Training for the Sun Life Group, and Director of Agency Development, Director of Client Services for Sun Life Financial. He also worked for other insurance companies such as Pioneer Life Group and Great Pacific Life Insurance. Currently, aside from chilling out and enjoying his free time, he also provides webinars and talks to various organizations and is collaborating with different training and facilitators, partners for servicing clients. He holds an AB Psychology degree from De La Salle University. Our guest for episode 4, our source of knowledge for our topic on leadership. Let's all welcome Mr. Nanjo Berba.
Hello world. Hello, Louis. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you here.
Yes, it's a pleasure.
And thank you for saying yes to our invitation to be our guest here in episode 4 with the focus on leadership. Okay? And
Yes.
that was a short profile that you provided, but really very rich in terms of experiences in leadership, sir. No? More than 30 years of leadership experience in financial services.
Yes, that's right, Louis.
And if someone among our listeners and viewers in the soon-to-be YouTube version of this podcast wants to follow your footsteps so that they can be a member of senior management one day and a CEO and president of an organization, what is the track? What are the steps that they need to take? Just like how you did it in the past.
Well, it's a journey, right? And alam naman natin that being a CEO is a position that is not plenty. Ilang naman ng CEO. Sa company, isa lang yun eh. So, while you have many people who will aspire for it, there's always only going to be one. Mm-hmm. But it does not mean that because there's only one, that you cannot prepare for yourself for the time that opportunity can't be granted for you. Kasi it's granted to you. To me, kasama na dun yung divine intervention, so to speak. You have to be blessed by God to be finally chosen. But you also should be ready so that you can be chosen. Yun lang naman ang kabaliktaran nun eh. So, the first journey is to first learn how to be good in management. Okay, that's the first. Once you've done that, then the next thing is to learn how to be good as a leader. Kasi dalawa yun. And to me, the best thing that describes that is you have to learn how to be human and you drive performance at the same time. Kasi many leaders or managers have that problem. Kailangan mabait ba ako or kailangan Hitler ako? And sometimes we think we have to make a choice between one or the other. Okay. But what I've learned over these last decades is that you have to be good. You have to learn how to care. At the same time, you have to produce the results. Otherwise, you will not go up because the caring is something that people like about you, but the results is something that will that higher management will use as a basis for choosing you to move forward, upward until you become CEO. So you need both. Kasi pag wala ka namang, you don't have that caring aspect, no one will follow you. So again, you get a bad rap. Even if you're very good at what you do, you'll always get a reputation, ay, wag yan. Kasi ano yan, si Nanjo, ganito, ganyan. What you want higher management to hear is a consistency in both. Magaling sa tao, mahusay mag-deliver ng results. Yun lang yung, that's what you want. Parang in terms of when you're doing virtual meetings now and all these things that are digital, you want very specific feedback.
Okay.
And you only want 2 feedback that will go up. Mahusay sa tao, magaling sa resulta. Those 2. Very simple but very hard to do.
I was about to say, parang, ang ganda nga, very simple, only 2 things. They also seem to be opposite ends of the pole. Is that another way of looking at it?
Yes, it is. It looks like they're opposite, but actually they're not. Okay. Because you cannot do one without the other. For example, you cannot do your job well as a manager if you're leading somebody, if you don't care about the people. Kasi you need to invest time to teach, to develop, to coach, etc., etc. Okay. So if you don't have that caring, you don't have that pasensya, you will not do that. Kasi that's extra effort on your part. Pwede naman, nasa job description naman yan you must produce X. You can just go there, right? So these are all extra things that you do that shows that caring. Okay. And caring, the English nice word for that is influence. That develops influence. Para sumunod sa'yo, yun. Gusto mo silang sumunod sa'yo. But that will not happen if they don't see na you care. You care.
Okay. I like the conversation so far. First question pa lang tayo. It brought us back to that basic fundamental discussion of the difference between a leader and a manager.
Yes,
and yes. Giving those 2 forces that you need to balance with associate caring in people with leadership, and then results and perhaps process with management.
Yes.
But it's also possible, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that ang usual difficulty kasi ng leader, pag sumobra sa caring or sumobra sa results, that's what now brings us to the Hitler versus the other one who may be so permissive to people. And I think leaders would have that choice. Minsan na-over talaga sila, sir, no?
Yes.
Minsan talagang pro-people naman o kaya pro-results naman or pro-management naman na Nanjo, no?
Yes. That's the journey of where you learn over time with experience how you balance both.
Okay.
you can have learning sessions on that. You can have people like us, for example, share how we do it. But you need to be able to experience it yourself to be able to understand why you would do it and when you will do it.
Okay.
Yun lang naman yun eh.
Okay.
But that is learned easily. Just like anything else, to be good, you need to practice. You need experience. So that's all it takes. But you have to understand that first. That you and many people don't understand that you can balance both. That's to me the message that has resonated to me over the years. Because I've always been asked. Actually, I had a boss before na nagsabi sa akin, Nanjo, the way to success is kailangang mas results driven ka.
Okay.
And you will not become successful, you will not become a CEO kung hindi ka ganon. And I've seen, totoo nga, I've seen CEOs who are really all results driven. But I've also seen that they don't last.
I was waiting for the bat eh. I was waiting for the bat.
Di ba? Hindi sila tumatagal. Why? Because ang tao ayaw sa kanila. When you say ayaw sa kanila, umaalis ang tao. So, while you may have gotten the results over a short period of time, on a longer period of time, nawawala siya kasi umaalis yung mahuhusay. So then, senior management will wonder, bakit umaalis ang tao? Then, they'll get all these things that si Nanjo does this, si Nanjo does that, etc., etc., etc. So eventually, they will decide, because you're not able to perform also anymore, after a while, kasi nga, lahat ng mahuhusay umalis, you're bound to be replaced also. So that's a hard pill that you have to swallow, that you need to understand that you have to be both. That's a very hard lesson to understand as leaders, as CEOs.
You're only really as good as the people that you have.
Agree. And I've been blessed. Ako, I'm very happy to be blessed with the people I work with. How do I know I am blessed? Because many of them are my friends up to today. So that's the biggest, to me, measure of whether you've been successful or not. Kasi yung results, nakakalimutan yan eh. People forget that you made the company number one or you achieved this, etc. They will always remember you for only one thing. Okay yan si boss. Pag sinabi okay yan si boss, mabait si boss, maalaga yan si boss, maunawain si boss. But they will never tell you, magaling yan kasi naging number one kami. I haven't heard anyone talk about a good boss na nagsabi kasi naging number one kami. If you probe, they will tell you they receive results. But they will not tell you that first as the reason why magaling yung naging boss nila.
Yes. Okay. I'm really blown away by this first realization. Leadership and management, people in production for results and relationships. And to somebody who's just starting their career, for example, middle management to senior management, where should they start to focus on? On the people side or on the results side? Is there a sequence that people can, I start with this first and then I'll build on this next competency after?
Okay. That's a very interesting question. So, management is always first before leadership. What do I mean by that? Management is really understanding the activities that get you the results. Okay. So that has to be first to me. Pag hindi mo naintindihan, every time you're asked to manage a company, for example, you start with, where do I want to go, right? Di ba? Yung vision, mission. Everybody starts with that. But you have to understand, ano yung direction mo? Okay? And then, what needs to be done, when you say what needs to be done to get there, ayaw mo ng mahabang listahan eh. Kasi I've been to many strategic planning, haba-haba ng listahan, and then you end up doing nothing. You just have to identify 3 to 5 major things that, if done, gives the biggest impact to wherever it is that you want to go. That is part of management. Management is the thinking part that makes you try to understand what are the activities that are important. Okay. The moment you understand that, then you're trying to then you start to deal with your leadership. How do I make people understand na ito yung importante?
Okay.
How do I communicate that to people? And how do I motivate my people to stay on course? So one has to come before the other. Then you balance it as you move forward, as you're able to deliver some of it or not all of it. That's when you try to balance now your leadership and managing. But first, you always have to understand what has to be done to get to where you want to do, and then how do you get people to buy into it? Yun mahirap eh. How do you get people to buy in it? Then yung people side. On a more strategic point of view. But even when you are managing a very small team, ganun din naman yun. You have to understand ano ba yung saan ba kami i-measure na okay. Ano ba yung, di ba, you have the smaller your teams are, if you are on the supervisory or managerial level, you have very clear metrics of your production results.
Yes.
You have to understand ano ba yun. And then what drives those results before you share that with people. Because how can you help people achieve that if you don't even understand what drives it, right? How can you tell people you must do this when you do not know how to do it? What most people don't see in managers or leaders is the how part. Madaling sabihin, kailangan magawa mo yan, kailangan mo produce mo yan, kailangan mangyari to. Pero paano? That's where the caring part comes in as a leader, to help discover how to get there so that dumadali yung buhay mo. So that's how I try to distinguish between managing and leading. The leader tries to imbibe the how. That's how you care. He or she doesn't need to know the how, but you can get that from your people. But you have to understand what you need to do. Then you work on the how with your people.
Okay.
That's how you get your buy-in. Yun yung leadership, working on the how.
Okay.
Listening to others, having empathy and all that thing. Doon ang nangyayari yun. That's the simplest way I can describe that cycle of trying to do things.
It also occurs to me now that when you mention the how, some leaders overdo themselves naman on the how, which is also something that people don't like to experience. Being managed with a lot of leaders, talagang lahat siguro ng detalye ng how kinontrol na.
Okay. So I have refrained from doing that. It's tempting. It's tempting, really tempting to try to do that. Again, what I've learned is understand the few things that create the biggest impact. Yun lang yung tutukan mo, not everything.
Okay.
Sometimes people have a tendency to try to make tutok everything simply because they cannot identify the few things that will generate the results.
Okay.
But if you're able to identify that, and then yun lang ang tinututukan mo, people don't think you're on their backs because you're only asking a few things. You're not asking everything. But what they don't know is that you understand that these are the only few things that will get me the results I wanted. I don't need to know about everything.
Okay. What you're saying is really just so simple. Yet it's also an big aha moment for me. No? Kaya pala, leaders would tend to micromanage and focus on even the small stuff. Sabi nga nila, don't sweat on the small stuff.
Yes.
But leaders end up doing that because, as you put it beautifully there, they don't know what matters most.
Yes. And I've seen that, even kami in senior management. That's our biggest mistake when we do planning, when we do strategy. We just list down everything.
Okay.
And then we don't spend time enough to identify ano ba talaga doon sa listahan yun na pag ginawa natin gets you 50%, 20%, whatever percent of the results. And then the others, ilang percent lang yun. Kung maliit lang yun, huwag na natin gawin yun. Total, maliit lang yun eh. So we don't spend enough time. What most people like to do is create nice documents with so many things listed, and so when you make presentation to to senior management, wow, kala nila, ang galing-galing, ang daming sinulat. Pero at the end of the day, you can't do everything.
Okay. I'm really blown away to our listeners and the viewers in the YouTube version of this podcast. I'm really blown away with this simple, fundamental conversation of leadership principles that were being schooled here by Nanjo Berba. Ang ganda, no? Yung there's a tendency for people to really present PowerPoint slide after PowerPoint slide. And you mentioned strategic planning sessions focusing on brainstorming of a lot of initiatives. But you've given us a very powerful handle. Which of these, yun yung question that you asked earlier, which of these 150, 20 action items will really give us 50% of the results? Or if you are to even introduce the Pareto rule here, which of the 20% of these actions will give us 80%?
Yes.
Wow. So, ganda. The steps that people need to take if they want to be senior management and then eventually CEO one day starts at the first step of their leadership. Management first, focusing on results, and then focusing on people, caring, empathy, which will be their asset to sustaining the results.
Then there's another one. There's a third one.
Go ahead.
A third one, which to me, many people overlook. You can be great at both, but if you don't have presentation skills, you're gone. That's the last ingredient for me. I've met many people I've worked with who worked with me, and sometimes when we have one-on-one performance meetings, they get gulat eh. Instead of sometimes I don't go through anymore. You've accomplished this, etc. Alam ko na yun eh. Then they're going to ask me, "Sir, boss, ano pang kailangan? Ano ba yung development plans?" Usually I have only one answer: your presentation skills. Kasi no matter how good you are, if you cannot communicate, you're dead. Because as you go higher, your presentation skills matter more.
Okay.
Because you're talking to audiences already.
Okay.
So when you are at a middle management or at the supervisory level, most of your dealings are one-on-one.
Okay.
And a few ones that you talk to one or couple of managers. But as you go up the ladder, especially if you're CEO, kausap mo na yung buong kampanya. I've seen many CEOs, very bright, understand what they want, etc. And I'm sure you've seen your share of that. Pag tayo dun sa harapan, wala na. Hindi nila ma-articulate yung gusto nila na mangyari. The worst thing a CEO will do is read his slides. And many CEOs do that. Magaling. Magaling yung nakasulat doon. But they cannot say it and communicate it in their own words passionately to their people. Kaya walang connect.
Yes.
Walang buy-in. So that is the other thing that many CEOs don't think they need to have. Pero ako, kasama yun eh. And I'm just fortunate that my career started in training. Actually, many people think that trainers do not become CEOs. Well, when you look at it from a statistical point of view, there are very few.
Yes.
But I'd like to believe that I'm one of those few that's been able to do that simply because, to me, the presentation skills, which is the hardest thing to learn, I had it already earlier.
As a basic skill, no?
So hindi ko na kailangan masyadong i-develop yun. So, miski na hindi ko masyadong alam, basta nasasabi ko ng okay, or then I get away with it. People like my presentation. Right? Kasi remember, you have to communicate not only downwards, you have to communicate upwards. So, if you're able to do that, they can sometimes ignore some of your weaknesses. Kasi you're able to communicate very well, and many people don't understand that's a prerequisite for going up. Not even as a CEO. I think as you go up the corporate ladder all the more you need to be better and better and better and better.
You're just really selling different things in different levels. No? Maybe when you're a supervisor, you're selling your performance of the performance of your team. When you're a senior management or CEO, you're selling the company to the board and perhaps the future proposals or projects or initiatives.
Yes, correct. So it's an essential skill for me. So aside from leadership and management, then the third one to me that's important is presentation skills.
And if you're going to give 2 tips to someone who is a CEO material but lacks presentation skills, what are the 2 things that they need to do when they're presenting to the board or ExCom to be a better CEO presenter?
Stick to very simple slides.
Okay.
If you can present everything in one slide, better.
Okay.
Don't. Kasi what I've learned also from the board members, they do not like long presentations either. You mabilis kasi they know already, so you don't need to school them anymore in all the data. Crisp. So the shorter your presentation is and straight to the point, the better it is. So, and many people make that mistake with thinking that they use it as a crutch, right? Na pag mahaba ka, alam mo maraming content. Actually sa akin, the shorter it is, that means you have more content because you're able to compress. That means you have better understanding of what you want to say because you're able to compress it. I remember presenting a 5-year strategic plan in one slide.
Okay. It's all there.
It's all there. So what we did was because the vision was to be number 1. Okay. So we had a nice drawing. The slide was we made a big number 1. Makulay yun. Bawa red or yellow. Then we divide that into 5.
Okay.
5 years. So first year, the bottom until number 1, 5th. Then we just wrote in brief the 3 to 5 things that we need to do for that year that brings us a step closer. Yun yung presentation.
You're very consistent. Earlier, you said that even before you said presentation skills, what are the 3 to 5 things that we need to do? And now you're blending it with, you need to be able to present those 3 to 5 things.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you can do it with one slide. So it sounds really like the effect of it, when I hear it, it's very convincing because people, madaling tandaan. The problem with many strat plans is after the board presentation or even the presentation to employees, hindi na naiintindihan yun.
Correct.
So you don't want that because you want that buy-in either from the board if you're a CEO and to your employees, right? So if you have to have an image that you will remember. That's why we use number 1 at the time because that was the long-term objective. So walang kawala yun. Okay. 1 is the vision. And then year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, every year we just evaluate. Nagawa ba natin? Bakit?
Yes.
O hindi? O anong nangyari? Yun lang yun. Do we need to make any changes, etc.? Mas madali. Kasi you're going back on those 3. Do you need to add something? Do you need to delete something? Ganun lang yun. It's easier for everybody, even for my senior management team at the time. And take note, there were most of the time, most of my management teams were millennials. They like that. Alam mo mga millennials are faster thinkers. They like something that is crispier.
With short attention spans as well.
Kaya pagka you're managing millennials, you have to have presentations like that. Pag medyo like me, with a lot of white hair, we can be more patient and lead to longer presentations. But lalo na millennials and the much younger ones, masyado na maiksi extension.
They'll be on their phones already. No?
Oh yeah. Even before that, tapos na yun.
Yes. Okay. Sige. Ang ganda nun, sir, yung huli yung presentation skills. Kasi management and leadership, and then need to be able to sell both of that through effective presentation skills.
Yes, yes.
Okay. What aspect of the CEO job do you love most?
Well, I'm blessed with having made many friends. That's what I love the most.
Okay.
Over the years.
Okay.
So that is the thing I love about being a CEO or being in any leadership or management position. It's one way to create long-term relationships if you do well. That's what I like. That's what I love about being there. Being able to help people.
And on the other side of the fence, what's one thing that you may dislike or least like in there's so many things that a CEO does?
Well, isa lang naman yun eh. I'm the type of person that does not like to be micromanaged, right? So, you have different types of boards. Some boards will give you more empowerment, and some boards will try to micromanage. Yun yung I don't like. It's because you spend so much time explaining rather than being able to do your job properly. So that's the reason why I don't like it, because you waste a lot of your CEO time in thinking, creating too many presentations that really don't matter naman to them in the end of the day. Kasi in the end of the day, if you're able to perform naman, okay naman dapat yun eh. You don't need to be able to detail exactly everything that you need to be able to do. But there's some boards that are like that. That's the one that makes it, because even my senior management guys complain kasi ang nangyayari sa kanila puro report. So again, if I also don't have enough time to spend with them, they also have less time to spend with their people because they're preparing reports. That's the thing I hate. Yes. I guess if you like to look at something I hate about or not like about being a CEO, the reports.
And I'm also learning that even at board level pala, no, sometimes they can really get to either micromanage or ask for more details, or instead of empowering or just delegating or letting the SLT or the XCOM run the show.
Yes, there are some boards that are like that. So it's something you either learn to live with, or if you don't, then you at some point in time you'll say, ayoko na.
Okay.
But there are, so in the same manner that people are different, right? Boards are also the same thing. They also have their own personality.
Okay. I can also imagine that the CEO, how tough the position is, because you're in between the board and the entire organization. Oh, yes. Even shielding the manicom, no, from the board.
Yep. Yes. That's why you have to understand what the board likes. In the same manner that you have to understand as a manager what are the important things that need to be accomplished. You also need to understand what your board values the most. So sometimes it's not. I mean, for example, like COVID, right? Even if you have plans this year about your goals, etc., that's all trashed right now, right? So you have to understand what the board expects of you.
Yes.
Wants from you. So magre-reaction eh. So the moment you understand that, then madali na yung bumaba. The moment they are unclear, because there are boards that are unclear.
Okay.
Also.
And
then it's difficult.
There's so many personalities in the board as well, and they may also have different priorities.
Yes. Well, in general, no, the harder boards to deal with are boards of family corporations.
Okay.
Because you have siblings or relatives that are part of the board that sometimes do not know or understand the business. Minsan, you spend more time trying to explain things rather than getting decisions made. Kasi sa board, what's important for any CEO is you need the board to give you a stamp of approval to be able to go ahead with certain major things, right?
Yes.
So rather than trying to explain how things work downstairs, right? So yun yung mahirap eh. The moment your decisions get delayed, of course, the achievement of your goals also will get delayed. So yun yung mahirap na balance when you're at that senior level.
One complication of the CEO role is really you really have not, you don't need to just manage downwards or sidewards with your peers. No. Also managing upwards.
Yes, you have to manage upwards. Definitely. Okay. Definitely.
Okay. A brutal truth about being a CEO that you'd love our listeners to hear. What is that brutal fact about CEO-ship?
You can't please everybody. You have to understand that. That's the brutal part. Even if you do, even if you want to be, say, I want to be the nicest guy in the whole world, right? I want everybody to like me. I want everybody to think of that. That doesn't happen. That's the brutal part. No matter how great you are, there is always going to be somebody who will tell you, I don't like you.
Okay.
Either from down or from the top.
Okay.
Yun ang tanggapin mo. Hindi pwede yun. There's no such
what's
thing.
The best attitude to that? For example, if there are groups or stakeholders who, I don't like you, I'm not supportive, what's the best mindset or attitude of a CEO?
Well, one of the things that one character that a CEO needs to develop over the long term is to be patient.
Okay.
No matter how difficult it is, even if you accept that that's a fact, you still try. You still try. Even if you still not get the result, subo ka pa rin. Kasi the only time you quit is when you say, ayoko na. But for as long as you have decided to be there, you keep on trying. Even if you're not getting the result. Sometimes you will get the result at the end. But there are times also, no matter what you do, it won't happen. So you accept it because you know it's there. It happens.
Okay.
That's the brutal truth. You cannot win it all in that sense, right? You cannot always. There is no such thing as success every year. Meaning, there's no such thing as a good year every year. There's always going to be a year that's not so good. But the nice thing about not so good years, it leads to greater years. Sometimes there has to be a step back before you can move 2 steps forward.
Correct.
So kasama rin yun. That's another brutal truth. So you cannot say to yourself, Nanjo, every year, maganda yung performance, right? I'm going to grow year on year, every year with my target. Kung ganun sa sales, ganun din sa CEO. It does not happen always. There's always going to be something that made it difficult for you to achieve it. For as long as you recognize and accept that this is the thing that made it difficult for you to achieve it, then that's already the best step for a better year the following year. To admit that there was something that didn't go well. But it cannot always go well. I have not seen that either. I mean, I've not experienced that either every year.
And it goes back to your first statement earlier, you can't please
everyone. Right?
Your toughest experience as a CEO, if there was one really tough experience, of everything that's tough, the toughest experience that we can remember.
The toughest thing is one time I remember when I was being asked to be a CEO, senior management told me, okay, so usually when you are asked to be a CEO, they give you time to assess the current senior management people and decide whether you want to retain some of them, let go of some of them. It's always your prerogative, normally.
Yes.
Unless you're told that it's not. But the thing that was tough for me was to be told that among the senior management team that were going to report to me, kailangan kong tanggalin na yung dalawa.
Okay.
That's tough because I'm not like that. I want to make my own call as to whether I will retain somebody or not. I don't want to be told. It's unfair not for me. I feel bad for the people concerned because it's so unfair. Because I'm coming in new, and yet if I were to follow the instructions, it's just like I'm making a judgment without any basis at all. That's the worst thing any leader can do, to make any a judgment or a decision without any basis at all. So if I were to follow that instruction and remove those two, carte blanche, that would have been against my own principle, right? That was tough because if I said no, I probably wouldn't have gotten the job.
Okay.
If I said yes, I would have been unfair, and I don't like that.
And imagine that's the first decision that you're doing on your day one.
Yeah.
You know?
Without any basis, huh?
Okay.
That's the worst thing. It's just sabi kasi ni bossing. Sabi ni bossing, ayaw niya si Nanjo, tanggalin mo si Nanjo. Well, that's very difficult. So, I slept over it for, I think, about a week. I said, can I think about that? I just said to the board, give me 1 week to think about that. And then I went back because I thought I only had two choices.
Okay.
But over the week, I came up with a third choice after sleepless nights. And I asked for 2 months.
Okay.
Just 2 months. Just give me a chance.
Okay.
I said to them, I'm not asking to retain them. Neither am I asking for too long.
Okay.
Just give me 2 months. I think that what will be more reasonable. Just so I also understand whether there's any basis or not. That was one of the toughest things because sa akin kasi ang tao importante yun eh. Your biggest assets are people. So what you do or don't do with people, to me, are always the toughest decisions any CEO needs to make because it affects their lives. So CEOs have to understand that what you do affect people's lives. So you have to be very careful as much as you can about making decisions that are not founded, who do not have any basis at all. To make that story short, I decided to retain both.
Okay. After the 2-month observation period.
Yes. I had a one-on-one meeting with both. I tried to find out if they understood, again, the 3 things or 5 things that were most important in what they're doing. And then we agreed. Okay. Then let's see the results after 2 months.
Okay.
Oh, they delivered. So I went back and said, deliver.
Wow. And what's powerful about what you just shared is that initially you thought you only had 2 choices.
Yes. Yeah. So part of the CEO or any managers or leaders task is always to have a plan B, plan C, plan D, etc. Don't think you don't have choice. You always can come up with more choices or more plan B, C's, D's, E's, etc.
And you did not immediately say yes. You also did not, put your foot down and say no, because both decisions can really be damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Precisely. And I would have no basis also for saying yes or no, right?
Yes,
why should I retain, right?
Okay.
So I think it also made them realize that I'm a little different from the other CEOs. And if the fact that they said yes to me was a good indication to me also that we were going to get to work better, because they would give me some allowance also to try to make things happen. That's all naman I would ever ask of any
Mm.
of my bosses. Just give me a chance.
Okay.
I'd rather have a chance than no
Mm.
chance at all, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
for as long as I have a chance, no matter how small that is,
Yes.
I will take that.
Okay.
It's always been my motto in life. Kasi my career naman is not been straight eh.
Mhm.
Pasigsag yan eh.
Yeah.
Parang Christmas tree yan eh.
Mm.
So, uh,
Ganyan na raw ang career ano ngayon, ang career pathing ngayon. It's no longer diretso. It's not an easy way from ranks to going up.
no.
You have to zigzag, no?
You have to zigzag. I think gone are the days where you go up straight. For example,
Mm.
you specialize in one position. For example, in
Yes.
sales. And then
Yes.
from sales, you become a CEO.
Correct.
Hindi na ata uso ngayon yun eh.
Mm.
Now, pero ako, I come from a different generation.
Yes.
I'm not fortunate enough to have been able to go
Mm.
through a straight path.
Mm.
I had to crisscross.
Okay. Which is also good for cross-functional exposure or general management. No?
Yes.
Ang ganda ng sinabi mo, sir, kanina, no? Yung you spent a week to really think about it. And my lesson here, and I know that our listeners will also find this valuable, is you don't just do what you're told. Or as CEO or senior management, don't do what you're told because, again, it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. You have to know how to negotiate. And well, the board or your boss will see the pros and cons. And just like in your case, they went by your creative proposal. The third alternative, as I call it.
Yes.
Meron palang third alternative, no,
Yes.
to begin with.
Yes.
Okay. For our last question, advice that you can give. I know that you've already shared a lot from steps that they need to take, what they should embrace with in terms of loving and hating in the role of the CEO, the brutal truth of they can't please everyone, and then being ready for tough experiences, just like what you just shared. Top 2, top 3 advice to those who are preparing themselves for senior management role and eventually heading a company.
Well, one of the things you will learn over the years is the more you know, the more you don't know.
Okay.
So your number one behavior, I guess, or habit for any manager, leader, or even a CEO is to continuously learn.
Mm-hmm.
Basa ka lang ng basa.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be books because we're fortunate now. There are many articles, there are many things that summarizes, right? So you can read more. I think about 10 years ago, I used to like buying books. So I shifted already to ebooks more than 10 years ago. Simply because it's easier to carry them around with me.
Correct.
So unlike dati, if you read a book, even if you underline it, you leave it in your house, right? And that's when you need something, you know it's in that book, but because you're in the office, you're not in the house, you can't use it. But so if it's an ebook, you can take it anytime. So that's number one. The other advice is worked well with me because of number one, because you can't know everything.
Yes.
The other skill you have to be very good at is to listen to people. The best decisions for me have been made because I listen. So part of my management style, so to speak, is I will listen first before I make a decision.
Okay.
I'd like to understand as much as I can. And the only way you can understand as much as you can is if you listen. And then you can just verify by gathering facts if there are facts to be gathered. Then it's easier for you to make a decision. So, and the fact that you listen, a lot of people like that because they also they see that you're open to inputs. So, but what they don't know is it helps you make a decision. So to me, it's the best way to be more caring, but at the same time, it's also the best way for me to make a decision more quickly by listening. Because that leads me to the third one, which is you have to decide quickly.
Okay.
Any leader and manager should decide quickly. I've seen many managers or leaders or even CEO na ang technique idinidedma. And for it to go away.
Problema.
Sometimes, dinided mo yun.
Okay.
Hoping it will go away, hoping that somebody else will solve it or whatever it is. But it creates more harm because no decision means there is no direction set. Because a decision, no matter how big or small, sets a direction. As simple as, okay yan. That means, gawin mo. That's a direction. Gawin mo is a direction. So, no decision means no direction. And that's the worst thing to do to any of the people you manage, is not to have a clear decision. Decisions don't need to be always right. So therefore, the next thing is to learn to make mistakes. Just don't make the mistakes twice, right? And the last thing for me is to remember the golden rule. And the golden rule to me is always treat others the way you want others to treat you. And you will not go wrong. So every time you have to talk to somebody, no matter how difficult the conversation will be, especially if it's a let go conversation, for as long as you put yourself in the other person's shoes, deal with that person that way, then you're able to get through the a unpleasant conversation much better. So those are some of my sharing suggestions for people who want to be in management, who want to be in leadership positions, and want to be CEOs someday. You can. Just be patient also, because each one has his own time. Hindi mo pwede siyang madaliin. Even if you think you're prepared, if your opportunities will just come. I never thought that I would be CEO at the time I was CEO. You know what I mean? I didn't say I wanted to be that CEO. I knew I wanted to be a CEO. But you can't say I'll be a CEO of the specific company at this particular point in time.
Especially for the younger members of the workforce, they have ambitions and goals to set. They want to be CEO at this age.
That's very hard. Because that will lead you to more frustrations. You can say, my dream is to become a CEO. That's fine. But it's very hard to put a deadline, target date to that.
Okay. Let's recap the 3 pieces of advice. The Nanjo Berba advice for those who want to be senior management and CEOs. Number 1, continuous learning.
Yes.
The more you know, the more you don't know. You said that.
Yep.
Number 2 is to listen to people. I thought you're going to stop with that, but the good thing is that the listening to people is not just because for the sake of listening to people, but because you ended with one of the major responsibilities of a CEO, which is to decide. And if you're going to decide, be decisive. Don't dilly-dally, because as you mentioned, hundreds and thousands of people can be waiting for a simple decision. So there you go, our dear listeners. All of these principles, we've taught in our management workshops, but it's always mind-blowing to hear actual practical experiences of leaders who have been there, have gone through the frustration, the test of time. And one such example, my dear friends, is our guest in this episode 4, Mr. Nanjo Berba. Thank you so much, Nanjo, for letting us into your world as CEO, as our senior management. Thank you for letting us know that we need to have that balance between leadership and management, balance between people and results, and managing 360 degrees, with the board, and always thinking you can't please everyone. But but achieve that balance between people and results. Okay? And I know that you are really enjoying your time right now, and at the same time exploring how you can continue to be of service to different companies. You have definitely been of service to Hello World podcast as well as to our tele-viewers. Sir Nanjo, thank you so much. It's been quite some time before since I last saw you, and it's really good to see you here through the Zoom in this virtual meeting. Ito lang palang Hello World podcast, no, ang magre-reconnect at magre-reunite sa...
Yeah, yes. It's a good thing to happen. Really a pleasure, Louis.
And looking forward to more collaboration with you. You are just a message away, yes? For our next possible project.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Louis.
Isang last request, no? Isang last Hello World na bate, no? Yung Hello World, yan.
Okay.
This is Nanjo Berba greeting you. Hello World.
Okay. This is Nanjo Berba greeting you. Hello, world.
Hello World. Thank you so much, Nanjo, for joining us here. Thank you, dear listeners. This is episode 4 of Hello World. Sir, maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Grabe, ha?
Thank you. I hope that was okay, ha?
Grabe. You know that these principles are fundamental truths, no? Pero really hearing it from you, tas meron may mga side, kwento ka pa talaga, no? Wow. Thank you. I really feel so... I felt like I read a book today.
Hindi. Alam mo na yung libro na yun, no? Tinuturo mo na yun, eh.
Pero it's really... For people like you who've really been there, saka yung mga boardroom discussions na yan, yung mga execom discussions na closed door na yan, no? These are really mga intimate moments in leadership talaga to, sir, di ba?
Yeah, but you will find out na the board, the exco, tao ka rin yun.
Yes.
They're no different. Matter of fact, many can be childlike, childish. Many discussions are very light. People think that boardroom discussions, for example, tsaka exco meetings are, I hate that. Many of my exco meetings are very informal because in the informality, you get more things done, baliktad, rather than because people tune out when you start going dan. But if you go like this and that way, you chit chat, etc. It apparently clears people's mind to be able to finish the agenda more quickly rather than.
What I like is ito ulit sinasabi mo, it's an affirmation that people are people. The position titles are just secondary.
Yeah. Yes. Tama yun. And you have your own business. You're CEO. You've grown your company also. So I think many of the things na I shared, you probably also experienced on your own.
And mostly yung mga stories ng mga clients natin, but of course I operate a small team. So yes, you schooled me today, and we hit several birds with one stone here. We added value to a lot of listeners.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Sir, marami pa tayong collaboration, ha?
Oo naman. Yes. Kasi as I told you earlier, I've been, na-COVID ako also. Right? So, and unlike you, I'm just trying to start that journey for helping other people in other way, right? So, medyo natigil yun because of COVID, right? Because it's easier to bounce back as you guys did because you already have a list of clients who know you. It's a difficult thing when you're still trying to get into it, right? I mean, so I've thought about putting up my own company, but I said, my goodness, I'm already too old to do that. And what for, right? So I think collaborating is a better way for me, huh?
Yes.
And then you suddenly, ako naniniwala talaga ako sa divine intervention. So, and then
bigla ka ng message, no?
Bigla ka ng message.
Inad kita sa Facebook, sir. Yun ang una. Inad kita sa Facebook.
Inad mo ako sa Facebook. And then, LinkedIn. Tapos, bigla ka ng message.
Ikaw, sir, na nag-wave ka.
Oo.
So sabi ko, kasi...
Tinry ko lang yun. Kasi, di ba, nandun standard yun eh. Tignan
Oo.
natin kung
Oo.
busy si Louie or hindi.
Oo.
So, that's why I said hello. So, to me, that's divine. Lahat yun,
Correct.
divine.
Correct.
You could have requested to be a friend in Facebook nung araw pa. Sa Philam pa ako. Which didn't happen for whatever reason, right?
Yes.
And it didn't happen over the years. Ngayon lang. So, sa akin, ano yun eh. Kasama yun sa, when you become older also, you realize that many things that happen in your life are blessings from above.
Alam mo kung paano kita in-answer? Hindi naman ako nag-add ng tao sa Facebook. Nag-appear talaga.
Talaga?
Suggested friend. Nanjo Berba talaga. Oh, hindi pa pala kami friends. At tama ka eh. Baka divine intervention.
Because I also wondered eh. Kasi, I mean, I know you because I follow the
Facebook
LJMB
page.
Facebook page, right? So I do. But for whatever reason, we never got to punch the friend request button, either me or you, right? Correct. So I always assume okay na yun kasi I follow your page, so I know what's happening. Because I like your outfit.
Thank you.
That's the reason why I've used you many times, simply because we have the same wavelength. Ayaw natin na masyadong komplikado, right? So, so sa akin, divine yun. It's really divine. I mean, I've been doing a little resource speaking on the side, but I've been asking myself the same thing. Do I need to go to, like everybody does, do my own YouTube, etc., etc.? And I ask myself, what for? Also, yes, I want to help, but do I need to go? So again, it's just a trying. Well, of course, has taken me longer.
Yes.
Months. But I'm trying to look for a better alternative also for me, because those are the choices. Do I do?
Yes.
Do I do like everybody else? Do a podcast, etc. Do my own YouTube, etc., etc. To shout to the whole world that hey, I'm here. Right? So, but I said to myself that that doesn't seem to be a good choice for me, because I'm coming out from nowhere. You in the same manner that I feel that I have more to contribute because I've been able to go up the career ladder. But I also don't believe that I should be trying to go out everywhere. There must be a better way, right? I said, there must be a better way. So,
ako iniisip ko sir, we can promote yun for executive leadership, di ba? Yun ang niche mo, di ba? For those who really want to move to senior, kasi medyo marami na rin yung usual leadership training, ano? But if you specialize on those who may already be there but not yet there, so what's still the missing link or the missing ingredient? Yan, pasok tayo dun sa executive leadership development program.
Yes, and that's a good thing, because that's no one. You're correct. There are not too many people who do that. AIN tries to do that. Pero ang ayoko sa AIN, masyado silang highfalutin. They'll charge you. I've seen their courses. I mean, I've attended some of them. I like some of them, but sometimes I find it they give you too much, right?
No?
Oh, grabe. Because many of the professors, unfortunately, haven't been there. Oh, di ba? Academe sila most of the time eh. Pero tapos sila nagsasabi sa'yo, parang yung strat planning. Many people who do strat planning come from the academe. So while there is a value to it, yung hindi nila yun yung sinasabi ko, they are not able to help or facilitate identifying the 20% that matters the most. Kasi wala silang experience. They do not know how to ask the right question. But that's the space where they are. But marami kasi ngayon nasa ano eh. You're correct, especially the millennials. They're the next generation eh. They do not know how to jump to that next level. They want to, they dream to, but they do not know how to. Marami sila yan. Marami yan. Because that's the, imagine, I got blown out, I think 2 years or last year when I saw that the average age of the Filipino is now 23.
Biluin mo yun, ano?
Oh, that's 23. That's your average age. So that means, to me, many of your middle management or senior na, are only in their 40s.
Correct.
They're only
And
in their
therefore,
40s.
need a lot of life experience coaching from
No, they need kasi ano yun eh. Biglaan din sa kanila yun.
Correct.
Because many of the boomers are disappearing quickly.
Yes.
And companies feel that boomers are expensive, so they also like to get rid of them for expense purposes, operational expense efficiency. So natitira ngayon yung mga 40s. So they're left to fend for themselves to try to find their way around.
Yung trial and error minsan.
Nangyari sa film yun eh. You've been involved in film, you've seen the...
Yes.
My goodness, grabe yung leadership change. Changes sa film. Kaya hilong-hilo ang tao. Every time yung new leader, palitan naman yung direksyon. So wala na kaming ginawa kung hindi magpalit ng direksyon. Kaya imbis na getting to step 2, we remain in step 1. Parating back to square 1. Difficult. That's why it's one of my most interesting stints. Film, yung ganyan. That's another thing. How the heck do you deal with? Before I retired, I had 6 or 7 bosses in a span of 5 years. So I had a new boss every year. And I've never had a new boss like that every year in my entire career. Mahirap yun. Every year nag-a-adjust ka. Every year hindi mo alam kung okay ka o hindi. Every year bago na naman yung...
Bagong pakikisama.
Tsaka bago na naman yung gustong mangyari. Mahirap talaga. That's, if you call that a challenge, that's challenging.
And that's part of leadership, no?
That's part of it. Wala kang magawa kasi it's especially if you work for a multinational company. When even if you're a CEO here, you don't really have, the buck doesn't really stop with you.
Yes.
Meron pang regional. Yun mahirap eh. Meron ka pang regional eh. So it's a title, but the buck doesn't really stop with you. So meron ka pa rin maraming bosses sa taas.
Yes.
It's like you're in middle management, but you're a CEO. So I think that's the best way.
Depending on what level you look at or what's going on.
So very interesting, but that's why it's more enriching. But it's also nice to see that you guys have been able to get out of it quickly during these times, to be able to shift quickly also.
As early as March, kasi kita ko na eh. Sabi ko, hindi ito 1 buwan, hindi ito 2 buwan. Now, this will be medium term. My option is to either close it so I can protect the money, but mas nanaig yung people eh.
Totoo naman. And that's why I'm glad because I saw it. I follow your, so sabi ko, okay to sinanuya. Because I also have friends who many have decided to take similar paths. Kanya-kanyang diskarte lang yun. But it's good to find another, as I always said, it's always good to find another option than the option of yes or no, di ba?
Yes.
Close. Kasi the other option is close or no lang. Meron pa bang ibang option?
Yung isa close or continue to just Hindi naman bleed, pero alam ko na loss ako for the next 2 to 3 months and then recover na lang. And then all of a sudden, this webinar that I have not done previously, sabi ko, mag-webinar tayo. Ganun din kabilis na adjacent team. Sabi ko, March 27, mag-webinar tayo. Kailan? April 1. Wala kaming kaalam-alam dyan. Umanap kayo ng platform, basta ako magsasalita dyan.
That's why it's good. Yeah, even me, I had to learn all these Zoom things. Over the past months, I mean, I didn't have many, but I've had some. So, but it's a good learning to use all of this also. Kasi hindi rin ako sanay na hindi ko nakikita yung kausap ko eh.
Yes.
The hardest thing about doing the webinars for me is I do not know. You cannot adjust to your audience reactions, right? You don't know whether you're doing well or not. You just have to assume.
Yes.
You only know na lang at the end when they give you feedback. Ay, salamat, Lord.
May mga internet connection issues ka pa. Minsan, yung mga maglalag.
Oh, that's the worst. Nangyari sa akin yun. Nawala. I was in the middle of a sharing. The internet conked out. I had to use my phone as a hotspot. Huh? Mas ano yun, nakaka-atake sa puso yun. But I'm really happy for you.
Ganitong gawin natin. Kakita ko talaga yung value na you can really extend to others that other speakers cannot replicate, which is really hands-on, decades-old experience on executive leadership. So doon ka natin na ipoposition. Magpapaalam lang kami sa iyo minsan pag medyo promote ka namin sa we will do your promotion sa social media.
That's okay.
Diyan na lang naman ang promotions eh. Lalo-lalo na sa LinkedIn. That's why in the past 3 months, I've been very active in LinkedIn.
I know. I can see. Sabi ko, hanap si Louie.
Iniwan ko na talaga si Facebook kasi meron na kaming audience sa Facebook eh. But the decision makers are all in LinkedIn, the HR professionals and executives. So papaalam kami sa iyo, sir, pag po-promote ka natin, ha? Especially on executive leadership topics and strat plan. Kasi kailangan yung picture mo, lagay natin doon.
Yeah,
papagawa kami ng mga artwork. No?
Sure, no problem.
And let's do that soon. Dapat may mga medyo madalas ang projects natin para, di ba, maka-traction tayo.
Yep, sure. Actually, pa-season na yan eh.
Yes.
Pa-season na yung mga strat plan. Is middle to third quarter normally is the planning sessions of most companies. They don't plan sa dulo eh. It's usually middle. Late na nga yung third quarter.
Yes. At lalo na, ang daming naging VUCA ngayon, dahil si COVID, no? Kailangan babalik yan yung mga planning sessions.
Oh yeah, that will be kasi everybody has to rethink how they're going to move their business forward, whether their vision okay pa, their targets are okay pa. Kailangan mag-reevaluate yun eh. Kasi ngayon, puro reaction lang yan. They haven't really sat down to really think about their directions.
Basta mag-ready ka, sir, kasi pag pinromote natin to, kasi kami lang, yung content lang namin, nakaka-generate na kami ng inquiries. Lalo na pag nilagay yung picture mo doon, di ba?
Sure. Ako okay naman. I'm ready.
Sige.
I'm ready.
Basta we will really keep in touch eh. We will plan for it over the weekend and then present to you something. Kailangan napopromote ka natin mga once a week, twice a week, no? Mga executively. If you don't want to do it on your own, kasi pwede na naman na mag-active ka sa LinkedIn, magpo-post ka doon. But if you don't want that, di ba? What I can do is to just get what you quoted today in the podcast. Kukunin tayo sa keynote mo, lalagay natin doon. Tapos,
pwede rin. Yeah.
Diba?
Yep.
Para will be your marketing arm.
Sure. Yes. Thank you. My pleasure.
This is Louie Banta of LJMB. Thank you for watching my video. To watch more videos like this, click subscribe and hit the bell icon below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and share it to others.